Verify the identity by simplifying the left side. Then you're going to drag each step to place it in the correct order. Well, I'm just going to do the simplifying of the left side of the identity. And then we're not going to worry about the dragging each step to place it in the correct order. You can go ahead and handle that. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the left side just like this: tangent squared theta over secant theta. Okay, and then the question is, well, what do you simplify first? Well, I'm going to use a Pythagorean identity here involving tangent squared theta. And 1 plus tangent squared theta is equal to secant squared theta. Okay, so if I want to do a substitution for this tangent squared theta, I have to do a little algebra over here. I need to solve this for tangent squared theta, so I'm just going to subtract 1 from both sides. And that's going to be tangent squared theta equals secant squared theta minus 1. Okay, so that means I can use the secant squared theta minus 1 instead of tangent squared theta. So equals secant squared theta minus 1 over secant theta. Okay, now my next step here is I'm going to split this fraction up into two pieces. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because what I'm simplifying to has two different pieces. There's a secant theta and then the cosine theta with a minus sign in between. So I'm going to try and create that same pattern here. So I'm going to go ahead and split this into secant squared theta divided by secant theta minus 1 over secant theta. Okay, my next step, I have a secant squared theta divided by secant theta. I can simplify that. So simplify there. Secant squared theta divided by secant theta is simply secant theta, then minus 1 over secant theta. Finally, I'm going to use a reciprocal identity because 1 over secant theta is cosine theta. So there we have it. So I just showed the identity that tangent squared theta divided by secant theta equals secant theta minus cosine theta. And I did that by taking tangent squared theta divided by secant theta and just working through and simplifying, rewriting. I used the Pythagorean identity, and then I split the fractions up, and I explained why I did that, and then just simplified from there, and applied a reciprocal identity as the very last step.